This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
This weekend's Lions game was probably the toughest watch that I can honestly remember as a Lions fan, at least in recent memory. To see a third-string quarterback. The third-string quarterback didn't beat us, but he certainly didn't do anything to lose that game.
Meanwhile, on your end, you're calling plays as if you're playing against like a Pat Mahomes or a Josh Allen and need to really ramp up the score and to keep up. Right. Meanwhile, put him a big goose egg, but...
Yeah, your offense fell flat on its face to an extreme. Mm-hmm. It was abysmal. With that being said, this is the Fan Report. We are on episode number 176. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hey.
You can follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast on Twitter. This past weekend, like, if you're a Spartan fan and a Lions fan, it was just a brutal weekend.
Yeah, this was a really bad football weekend for me.
It was. I
think I went 0 for.
And honestly,
too. Like literally 0 for.
We were like, so you and I and one of our other buddies, buddies was at. We went to MGM on Saturday to watch some of the college games, and we made some bets, and a couple of those bets had Michigan winning by a sizable margin, and even cheering for Michigan was like agonizing.
My soul.
It was not just that, but it was agonizing in the sense that, like, I don't think they played that great. Mm-hmm. Indiana gave them especially in the first half, tie ball game going into halftime. That was rough. Mm-hmm. We were nervous, but the Lions played probably the worst game of football I have seen in this town in a long time.
Yeah.
In every facet of the game. And you can make an argument that,
it was like the London silly nannies out there.
The defense played great. Oh, they were so good. Did they, though? You went up against Bailey Zappi.
Like, I get the argument of, they only scored one touchdown. Like the Patriots offensive touchdown.
Zappi.
As I said, I get the argument of they only scored one offensive touchdown, but you got to put it into context. You're going against a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start. You should have shut him out.
And mind you, it's not like this third-string rookie quarterback is throwing to the likes of Devontae Adams. His number one weapon is Jacoby Myers.
Yep.
And then they have a great backfield, a good backfield duo in Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris was knocked out of the game after 5 snaps. So you went up against Ramondre Stevenson.
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, same. He killed us. But this is not exactly a high-powered Patriots offense. It's a very boring Patriots offense that doesn't have a lot of firepower there. And they still scored on you. Not a ton. They had 1 touchdown and like a billion field goals.
But considering the position, our head coach put our defense in time and time again in this game.
God. I got to ask the question.
I'm not going to say they played a good game, but I can't fault them too much.
I got to ask the question because we've been talking about how Dan Campbell, and going back into the offseason, we were talking about how Dan Campbell was instilling this culture in this team and in this town. And I've always questioned it by saying, how do you instill a culture in a product that doesn't win? In a product that goes 3-13-1. How do you instill a culture in that? What culture are you instilling there? And there is something to be said about eventually, if you're not winning, it doesn't matter how good your speeches are, how rah-rah you are. Players will not buy into you. That's just a fact. And then looking forward, like, what kind of culture? Like we're 1-3 right now, going into probably the toughest part of our schedule coming up after the bye week. Yes, it's a bye week this week, and thank God. But you probably have the toughest part of your schedule coming up against the Cowboys. I believe it's the Cowboys, Dolphins, and Packers.
Yes.
What type of culture are you instilling?
Would look as good as they do.
Dude, well, Dak may be back by then, I heard.
Yeah, but even then, like I'm just saying, like even the Cooper Rush Cowboys look
Right.
good. Like,
well, they're, 4-1 now?
have they lost with Cooper Rush? I don't think so. I think the only loss was with Dak.
Well, I mean, as a team, they're 4-1 now.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about with
Right,
Cooper Rush.
they're undefeated with Cooper Rush, yes. But, like, let's say you don't win any of those games because you're not going to be favored in any of them.
Yeah, and you're 1-7.
You're 1-7. So what
Unless
kind of culture?
Skyler's starting for the Dolphins, then you might be favored.
Fair. But what type of culture can you instill as a head coach when you are 4-20-1 through your first 25 games?
You can't. Like you said, you can say all these things and have your team buying into all your pregame speeches, all your locker room speeches, what you preach in practice, how you prepare for games. But at the end of the day, it's all just words until you back it up with some tangible results. And eventually, if week after week, it's just words after words after words with no results, those words will suddenly hold less and less weight.
Let me ask you this. We're 5 games through the season. We're 1-4.
Yeah.
We had an expectation of 7 wins, 7 or 8 wins coming into the season.
Yeah.
I want to say 2 or 3 of those wins were these first 5 games.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at a 5 or 6 win team, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we expect here.
Mm-hmm.
How many coaches can go? How many 8-win coaches over 2 seasons? So do the math for me. 8. So we're talking a 5-12 team. So 8-25-1. That right? I do that right? I think I did.
You're losing me in terms of what you're trying to calculate right now.
How many 8-25-1 head coaches come back for a 3rd season in the NFL?
I mean, I couldn't tell you that number. If you look at what just happened with Matt Rule, if that's an indication,
I'll answer the question for you. Next to none. And yeah, I get the guy's on a 6-year contract. Matt Rule's on a 7-year contract. He just got canned.
Yeah.
And I want to say they're, 2-3 or are they 1-4 also? I don't even know. Can you justify bringing Dan Campbell back after 2 years if he's only got 8 wins in those 2 years? What player is buying into that?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Like you know my opinion on Matt Campbell, Dan Campbell coming into the season. Like I told you, like I'm pretty much set to give him 3 years. Like I don't like no matter what happens this season. I know it's still a young roster. I'm pretty much set to give him 3 years, but what I've been seeing over the last 5 games, and especially this past Sunday, has really changed my tune on that, because this past Sunday you had like 1 or 2 mistakes in each of those games, but this past Sunday was just a shitload of mismanagement.
As a head coach,
both sides of the ball,
you're not really afforded 1 to 2 mistakes every game.
No, I know. I'm well aware.
I'm gonna take a quote from a great football movie. On Matt Campbell. We must be perfect. We must be perfect as a head coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say what you were going to say. I cut you.
Yeah, because what you can't do as a head coach is be a net negative for your team. You can be neutral. You can actually game manage in a way that actually helps your team win, which you should be doing. But in no circumstance can you be making decisions that actively hurt your team. That's the last thing you should be doing as a head coach. You're supposed to be the brain of the team, you and the quarterback. So yeah, like you are afforded very, very few mistakes as a head coach, if any at all. And I think Dan Campbell made more mistakes this past Sunday than a coach should be afforded over the course of the whole season.
I agree with you. This past Sunday may have been his worst game as a head coach.
May have been.
All right, was. But
you saw the difference between Dan Campbell's. Why do I keep saying Matt? Matt
Campbell is a head coach, and he was a candidate for the Lions. He's just not an NFL head coach.
Like, you saw how thoroughly outcoached he got by Bill Belichick.
Oh my God, that wasn't even close.
Like, you saw what an NFL head coach looked like versus what we have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, so something I've noticed, and I was going to mention this last week, but we didn't end up recording a podcast last week. Something I've noticed on the defensive side of the ball with our defensive play calling is it just seems like everything is so simple. And quarterbacks, if they have a lick of experience, are able to pre-snap read everything we do. They're able to put a receiver in a hole in our secondary every single play. Yep. They're able to adjust the line to pick up the block so that the Mike blitz or the corner blitz is picked up and not got a free shot at the quarterback, or the rollout, it's to the right side of the field. I feel like every single play, and it's evident because of the fact that we can't get to the damn quarterback. The only game we could was Washington, and Washington's are giving up the most sacks of anybody. It's terrible. On both sides of the ball, right? Sure, our offense has been great for the first 4 weeks, and then this past week, I don't know what the hell happened. Our play calling it was like Ben Johnson dropped his playbook and in the mud and just was like, it's fine. I got a backup in the office. I'll just go grab that. And it was like Joe Lombardi's from way back from 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, whatever it was.
Well, what happened was Belichick
Cougars,
was smart enough to take away T.J. Hawkins as an option.
He was.
He was.
First off, why the hell was Amon-Ra St. Brown on the field?
Decoy. He was a 15 snap pitch count.
I'm sorry. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Nobody's scared of him as a decoy yet in this league.
Yeah, I know.
He ain't that good yet. He doesn't have that respect yet. Teams know if he's not right, whatever. Put a linebacker on him. He ain't running.
I mean, you saw him run. He looked really slow.
Yeah.
And also, this is the first time I'm hearing it's a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
He shouldn't be out there at all if that's the case. He's got to be resting that.
But
I don't want him aggravating a high ankle sprain just to run some dummy routes for 15 plays.
Seriously, what the hell's the point of that? But let me ask you this. How many games this season do you think Dan Campbell has contributed to a loss?
All 4 losses. At least 3.
That right there should be eye-opening for anybody who believes in Dan Campbell. He has been a contributor to every single one of our losses this year. He has made poor decisions that have led to losing football games. And in those poor decisions, let's for example, I'll pick a couple out from this past weekend against the Patriots. First damn drive of the game. He didn't take long to piss you off.
Good morning, Lions fan.
Yeah, he didn't take long to piss you off in this one. 4th and 1. On your own, 35, 40-yard line?
Yep.
Let's go for it. Why? You have the best damn punter in football. You have a rookie quarterback in his first start. As a coach, your dream scenario is to put that kid out there and shake and rattle his cage.
Exactly.
Because you set the tone the entire game by doing that. You go out there, you punt the ball, pin him in his own 10 because you have a great punter that can do that, and then you put a 0 blitz on him on first down. Yeah, good night, kid. It'll never be the same for the rest of the game.
Yeah. You know what I really do think Dan Campbell's strategy was going this game, and I think it's a flawed strategy, but where I think the strategy was, he saw how his defense never forced a single punt last game against Geno Smith, and said, I'm going to try as hard as possible to keep my defense off the field for as long as possible. And punting was not an option for him.
He was scared to get beat by Bailey Zappi.
Right? That's what I'm saying. There's a difference between, Geno Smith is not a world beater. I
don't know, man. Geno Smith looks really freaking good this year. You're talking potential most improved player of the year with that guy.
But there's a difference between Geno Smith and Bailey Zappi.
Yes.
I would understand when he did do it in terms of really trying to keep the ball in Geno Smith's hands last week because they couldn't stop him to save their life. I don't quite understand it when you're going against a rookie quarterback making his first making his first start.
Fourth.
Albeit, you look at Bailey Zappi's college stats; they look fantastic.
Oh yeah, he was great. Don't get me wrong; he was great at. I believe it was Western.
What was it? Western Kentucky?
I think so. Yeah. But, dude, 3rd straight. He couldn't get a job over Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer's won 100 and has been eternal backup since his Cleveland days. 4th and 1.
But then you have situations.
But also the play call. 4th and 1, you just why run the ball on your own 40? Drop a play fake. Drop a
trust in the O-line.
Something. I get you want to trust your O-line. It's the strength of your team. But come on. How many times do we got to see Jamal Williams run into the back of the offensive line before we say that's probably not the best play call?
That is a good point, though. You don't have your starting running back, and you're still trying to call wrong plays at the middle.
I get he was great against Seattle. I get it. And I like Jamal Williams just as much as the next guy.
Seattle's a much worse defense than New England.
One. But other problem is he's not the best player on the field for you anymore. Like, he's just not.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to Josh Reynolds, TJ Hawkinson, DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd rather go to any of our top 4 receivers before I go to Jamal Williams in a clutch situation.
Yeah, I mean, I have less of an issue with the play call than I do with the situation of the play call.
Well, okay, don't get me wrong. I have a bit, like you said, I have a far bigger issue with them going forward on 4th and 1, the first damn drive of the game on your own 40. Like that, when you have Jack Fox, like, why the hell is Jack Fox even in the locker room anymore? Like, may as well, honestly, God, may as well trade him because you might actually get a draft pick for him.
He's getting free money right now.
He's so valuable and you just decide to throw him away.
Yeah.
And also, why the hell did you bring in Mike Badgley and waste that dude's time?
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. Like another terrible 4th down play call, 4th and 9, and you decide to, when you are in field goal range, and you decide to go for it.
4th and 9, you're in field goal range, and you go for it. Why
you're
the hell did you bother?
You're only down 6-0.
Why the hell did you bother bringing in a kicker? And you know, people will defend it saying, "Oh, well, we've had kicking woes for 2 years." Blah blah blah. He doesn't trust the kicker. He should trust the kicker. You know what? The Eagles lost Jake Elliott halfway through the week, and they brought in a kicker midweek. He went out there and kicked a 47-yarder.
I'm saying it's one thing if you have your kicker from last week and you just 100% did not trust him and weren't able to bring someone in, but no, you brought in a pro, Mike Badgley,
an established NFL kicker who's made kicks, many.
Just don't put him beyond the 50.
Like, you know what that tells me though, is that Dan Campbell doesn't trust himself to find a kicker. Doesn't trust his special teams coach to find a kicker. He doesn't trust, like, 4th and 9.
I don't even know if it's trust at this point. I feel like he thinks he's playing Madden. It's what it feels like to me.
It sure as hell is what it looks like, and he's not very good at it. Let me point that out.
Because that's what I do in Madden. I'm like, fuck it, I'm not gonna get a field goal. We're gonna ride or die. Let's go.
But the difference is in Madden, you trust your defense to actually get it done.
And also, Madden is in a fake world that doesn't count.
Right.
I'm not getting paid to play Madden.
It is so frustrating watching Dan Campbell coach a football game.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain times where I love seeing the aggressiveness and, yes, set the tone early, set it hard.
But there's a time and place.
There's a time and, right. Like,
you gotta read the 4th situation. 4th and 1
on your own 40 in the first drive of the game, going up when the other team is sporting out a 3rd-string rookie quarterback in his NFL first career NFL start.
Yeah.
No, man. Honestly, if I were the Lions and I won the toss, I would have absolutely deferred and let Bailey Zappi take the ball to begin the game. Because I want to make that kid scared.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Whoops. Yeah. Knocking shit off my desk.
Like, I like a Sunday morning mimosa as much as the next person. But I'm not going to do it if I'm spending that Sunday morning at church. For your weird analogy for the day. Yeah, and then you have Big Cat from Barstool actually tweeted out something really interesting. And wow, as soon as I pull up my phone, it just disappears on me. But he said, just wrapped up part of my take. Great football weekend. Also, my big question that I don't know the answer to. Remember, this is not a Detroit guy. Are Lions fans kind of out on Dan Campbell after another week of "that's on me" quotes post-loss?
That's the other thing that drives me nuts about this guy. How many times are you going to take the blame and not fix a damn thing?
But you know what confuses the shit out of me? He came out in his press conference day. How many times did he say, "Yeah, I regret that call. I regret that call"? He came out in his press conference day, and all of a sudden, "No, I regret none of those 4th-down calls." I was like, "You just said you regret the call."
How many times are Lions fans going to listen to this guy say it's on me, and he's just back for another week? Like, hearing "it's on me," man, I can only hear it so many times before it drives me up a wall. Like, dude, you have to be able to fix your mistakes in this league. You have to be able to learn from your mistakes in this league. And he's not shown me a damn thing to tell me he has learned from a single mistake he's made. Not just going back to the week 1 of this year, but going back to week 1 of last year. Yep. Dude hasn't learned a damn thing about how to coach in this league.
He's actually regressed, to be honest with you.
He very well may have, because
I don't remember this many mistakes in this concentrated, like in a concentrated amount of sequences as we have had in the first 5 weeks of the season. I don't remember that happening last year. I remember mistakes, not at this rate.
No, me neither.
But Big Cat seems to be of the opinion that he thinks that Lions fans love Dan Campbell, the person, so much that it's overshadowing their ability to critically think about Dan Campbell, the coach.
Then you know what? There's a lot of WWE fans here in the city because that's what Dan Campbell is.
I think there are a lot of WWE.
There actually, I'm pretty sure there are, but because he's basically a WWE wrestler.
Yeah,
like and he's probably right. And don't get me wrong, I don't tend to take top tier takes from Big Cat from Barstool very often, but
I just find it interesting that it was a tweet coming from a national source, someone who's not a Lions focused.
I can honestly say I kind of agree with it. Like it's
someone replied to his tweet, said, "How many actual good coaches are there that you can trust in every game in the NFL? 3 or 4?"
I disagree with that entirely. I think there are probably excuses. I think there are probably 20 to 20 plus coaches in this league that I would say don't hurt you on Sunday. And then there's probably even, double to triple that in college football. Or in other ranks and coordinators, whatever, that you could hire as a head coach to not hurt you on Sunday. You want to say that there's maybe a handful, like 10 coaches that actually constructively, concretely can say that they help their team on Sunday? Fine, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But there's got to be at least 20 to 25 coaches in this league right here, right now, that don't hurt their teams on Sundays. Definitely not the way Dan Campbell does.
And also, after seeing what the Giants are doing, what the Jets are doing,
you want to talk about a team that's coached
what Jacksonville's doing. Like
Jacksonville's got some talent. I think of those 3 teams, I think Jacksonville's the most talented.
My whole thing with the Lions coming into this season was 1, very young team, 2, very young coaching staff, 3, incomplete team because we were lacking a lot of talent in the defensive end. But I can tell you right now, we have more talent than the Jets and the Giants. And the Giants are 4-1. So
they have, I don't know how they've been winning games. Like they have stumbled into wins every single week almost.
This should be the Lions.
Weird.
The Lions should be the worst 4-1 team, not the not the Giants.
Like
we should be the worst 4-1 team in history.
The frustrating thing is through the first 4 weeks of this season, if the defense was just bad, they'd be at least 3-1 or 2-2 at worst.
So I'm saying we should
this
be
past week that they would have lost, whatever. But
we should be the worst 4-1 team in the league. That's who we should be, of all time, I should say.
It's
because we had the schedule to gift us that record.
We did. We honestly did. The toughest team you played is Philly, who, in all fairness, is the number 1 team in football right now, maybe.
But that should have been the 1 loss. That's it.
And you actually played that game. I mean, it wasn't a close game, but you battled back. You never had a chance to tie it.
You didn't look terrible in that game like you had the last couple games.
Right. What do they need to do? What changes do they need to make? Obviously, defensively, heads need to roll. Things need to change big time back in that end. And I'm sorry, but
I don't even know at this point. Do we have players left?
True. The whole training staff needs to go. But in all reality, though,
we had 5. They called it on the broadcast. We had 5 defensive back injuries yesterday.
Right. In all reality,
how?
There is not a single healthy team in this league. There's not a single healthy position group in this league.
Oh, I understand.
And I can promise you that there's another team out there that has a position group that is equally, if not more, injured than our secondary is. Look at the Seattle Seahawks. Look at the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. They are missing their left and right tackle. Well, their left and right tackle are both rookies, so they're able to trust young players and they're able to get positive value out of young players. Why can't we?
I found it. I'm just thinking. I found it hilarious that who was it? Was it I want to say it was Deshaun Elliott. He gets hurt. He gets hurt. I think it was a groin, and then they put in Melifonwu. Next play, Melifonwu gets hurt with an ankle sprain. It was like a rolling carousel of defensive backs that we were throwing in. But no, like you're right. Every team deals with injuries. I was only making that statement because 5 to 1 position group in a single game. That is like something's got to give at that point. Like that doesn't just happen over the course of a few games, sure, but in one game that it seemed wild to me. But I'm not using that as an excuse. Like our secondary sucks regardless, whether we have a healthy secondary or not. It sucks.
So have you pumped the
Yeah.
brakes on Jeff Okudah yet?
I mean, I never said he was like a role. You asked me a couple weeks ago, and I told you I don't think he can ever be a starting one in this league.
Well, I mean, you
skill
even said
set.
you were starting to buy into Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, I was liking what I was seeing from Jeff Okudah.
Have you slowed up at all?
Yeah, he's not looked good the last 2 games.
Because he didn't really play very well against Seattle. He gave up 150 some odd yards. And then this past week, he gave up a big play to Jacoby Myers. And honestly, on the play to Jacoby Myers, I don't even know what he was doing. He was literally just like waltzing his little ass through the middle of the field. Like he was shadowing Jacoby Myers, but shadowing him from like 10 yards away. I literally watched.
Was it like a weird attempt at baiting Bradley Zappi?
Honest to God, looked like he was playing zone, but wasn't.
Yeah,
because he followed him across the entire field. Like it was one of the weirdest defensive strategies I've ever seen.
What is your 2 cents on Aiden Hutchinson? He's consistently getting into the backfield. Like he was consistently getting pressure on the quarterback, but he was never getting to the quarterback.
I'm starting to get the feeling that quarterbacks aren't scared when Aiden Hutchinson gets in the backfield. Because I've seen him a lot, like a lot, over pursue to the point that a quarterback just has to take one step, and Aiden Hutchinson may as well just go pack his bags and get back on the plane. Because there was
one play that pops in my head. I can't remember what the down distance was, but Aiden Hutchinson was coming around the corner, had a direct line at Bradley.
This is one of my favorite replays from the game, and I'll tell you why in a second.
He was so on this beeline and so committed to this one direction of pursuit that literally Bailey Zappi just did like one small juke move, and he just
Bailey Zappi, all he had to do was just like turn, and then Aiden Hutchinson goes flying into the bench. The play you're talking about, honest to God, like I think Aiden Hutchinson talent wise is like up there with some of the top young pass rushers in this league. And skill wise and ability and athleticism, like he's up there with some of the best young pass rushers in this league. He just doesn't quite have it honed in, and his tendency to over pursue is just yikes. But now tell me this, and I don't mean it to be mean. I just mean it because it's something I noticed and I thought it was really funny. But when he rushes the passer, does he not look like a toddler running with his arms flailing?
Oh, you mean like Kyler Murray?
No, like. Like, okay, here's who I picture.
I saw a tweet. Like, I don't know if you saw the kid that's throwing the field.
I didn't. I've heard about it.
It was a 10-year-old kid that's throwing the field,
Didn't
and
he get
someone
wrecked by security.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone quote tweeted it and said, "Looks like Kyler Murray just throwing the field."
No, you know who I picture?
Yeah.
Is Chucky from the Rugrats when he runs with his arms out to the side, flailing around. That's what, and I don't mean it to be mean. It's just that play in particular, when I saw his arms just like flying all over the place, immediately what I thought of. But like, I think Aiden Hutchinson has ability and has motor and drive and wants to do it. I think the game's moving too quick for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure he's getting the right coaching for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's developed a truly go-to pass rush move just yet. And there's actual like real NFL players that have come out and said that Aiden Hutchinson needs to develop a pass rush move.
Oh yeah, a couple different analysts at halftime said it. I know Emmanuel Acho said it.
Yes.
Which I didn't know he was an analyst.
Neither did I. But like,
and I think Aqib Talib also.
Aqib Talib was the big one I was thinking of. But I like Aiden Hutchinson. I think he could be a good player. I will say he's been vastly disappointing through the first 5 weeks of his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's played
half of good.
That's what I was gonna say,
yeah.
Against Washington, a half, because he kind of disappeared in the
boy, what a glorious half that was!
It was great.
That was the best half of Lions football that I can remember in a long, long time.
Honestly, yes.
And I still cherish that half of
Honestly, yes. That half of football made this entire town drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it did.
It did.
Oh, yeah, it did.
But you know what happened after that?
I was ready to declare 4-1 after that half of football.
Washington made adjustments, and the Lions still have yet to readjust.
Yep.
Have yet to readjust.
I just don't understand how. I feel like we played better against better teams, and then like I feel like the last 2 weeks were Washington probably too, but last 2 weeks were two of the easier games in this 5-week stretch, and were the worst we looked. I don't understand it. I don't understand how we look worse against worse teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't even want to say is playing to the competition because you sure look damn good against Washington. They're not very good.
Like, did Tracy Walker make that much of a difference?
It hurts to lose a defensive captain, but the defense is no good with him or without him. So
this turn basically aligns perfectly with Tracy Walker getting hurt.
It does, but the Lions defense was no good with him or without him. So
But he gave us this. I think he gave us the safety help we needed to at least take away one option in the receiving core. Like, we were able to slow down. You were able to slow down Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith. Brown.
Well, you didn't slow down AJ Brown. AJ Brown had 150 yards.
Sorry, Devontae Smith. Yeah, you're right.
You didn't slow AJ Brown down. Andrew, what are your expectations for this team moving forward? And I'm going to preface that by also asking you, what does Dan Campbell have to do to not get fired in your eyes?
Well, expectations for this team moving forward. I don't expect their next win to come till the Bears game on November 13th. So there's that.
Are they even going to beat the Bears?
The Bears are terrible.
Dude, the Bears are so bad. I can't even.
The Bears are worse than anything we've faced so far.
I couldn't even keep a straight face when I said that.
Yeah.
The Bears are bad.
My expectation for us this season is to just beat the lowly teams on your schedule, a.k.a. the 2 games against the Bears, the game in Carolina.
You can't even call the Jets and the Giants lowly anymore.
Yeah.
You do have the Vikings at home and the Jaguars
and you did play well against the Vikings on the road.
Until your coach costed you the game, yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, like, right now, expectations, if nothing were to change, I'm saying you're looking at a 4-13 football team.
So then, how do you bring back a guy who's won 7 games in 2 years?
If that happens, Dan Campbell should not get a third year.
I agree with you.
Now, what do I need to see from Dan Campbell? Low-hanging fruit here.
Win?
No. First, I want him to cede all third and fourth down decision making to Ben Johnson. Because I'm assuming he's the one making those. We don't know for sure. It could be Ben Johnson fucking up on fourth down, but I'm pretty sure it's Dan Campbell that is a head coach decision on where to go for it or kick the field goal. So that's not something the offensive coordinators decide solely.
Did the Lions go 0 on fourth down this past week? Because I'm pretty sure they did.
I thought they converted one. I'd have to pull the stat sheet back up, but I thought they got one.
Not great.
I mean, they almost won a second straight.
They were 0 for 6 on fourth down.
Jesus.
4 and 12 or 4 for 12 on third down.
They almost won a second straight game without forcing a punt. The Patriots didn't punt the ball till late in the fourth quarter. And the game was over at that point too. Like
they had one punt the entire game. Sorry, 2 punts the entire game.
Anyway,
and the Lions only punted twice, but they were on fourth down 6 times. 8 times technically.
We only punted that many times because we refused to punt otherwise.
You have one of the best punters in the damn league. A good punter is so valuable for the field position battle, and you just say, "Well, we don't need him." You do.
I so want somebody to come out and cite our punt rate as a reason why the offense is good. This team has the least amount of drives ending in punts in the league. Yeah.
That would be a fun argument.
But anyway, yeah. So I honestly, over the bye, like I want this to happen by next game. Ben Johnson, either cede fourth down play calling to Ben Johnson or hire someone, because I know a lot of coaches do this.
A game coordinator?
Yeah, like a game management.
A game manager. Guru. Go figure.
Yeah, like someone that you can consult. Nathaniel Hackett has one, and he still sucks. But Nathaniel
I was going to say, it's not a good example.
And he did not wait long to implement one. Like, he fucked up once. He's like, nope, not doing that again.
Do you think that with Matt Rule being fired in the midst of a 7-year contract, you think that makes Dan Campbell a little scared, a little nervous?
100%. If he's paying attention to anything going on around him, that should 100% make him scared.
I would be scared if I was him.
Just like a big quarterback signing resets the market for quarterbacks, an early coach termination resets the market for coaches in terms of hot seats.
Now, I'm not saying that I want the Lions to fire him this week or next week, because I'm
still willing to give him the rest of the year.
I'm willing to give him the rest of the season because, frankly, we're not going anywhere anyways.
Yeah.
And the only reason you could make an argument for firing Dan Campbell before the end of this season is to get an early look at somebody like Deuce Staley, who would probably be the next man up.
Yeah, that'd be my pick. Him or Ben Johnson.
Right.
I really like Ben Johnson right now.
Head coach would probably be the interim, and he would get an early look at him as a head coach of this football team. That is the only reason I would say maybe you do fire Dan Campbell early. But I'm not ready to say that he's not the guy. I'm starting to believe he's not the guy. And if he goes, 4-13 the rest of the way, he's definitely not the guy.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, there isn't a single player with an ounce of self-respect in this league that's going to buy into a head coach that's won 7 games over 2 years. Sorry.
Yeah. At some point, you need to back up the words with results.
Yeah.
Or else the words are meaningless. But yeah, so back to what Dan Campbell needs to do. Yeah, so seed 4th down calling to Ben Johnson. 2, hire a game manager or just a situation manager. And 3, I think you might need to do some shuffling on the defensive play calling front. Even though it was better today or Sunday than it was last week, it's still atrocious. And you know me, I'm not one to give up on coaches quickly, but
their play calling on defense
the
is
league's
predictable.
Worst defense. Something's
and it ain't close.
I know you don't have the personnel to be a good defense. I know that.
But you have enough personnel to at least be bad.
You can't be the worst defense of all time.
Right.
That can't happen.
You have the personnel to at least be a bad defense. 28th out of 32. You can make that happen. Even 29th out of 32 or 30th.
The problem is I don't know this defensive coaching staff well enough to make any other comments on that.
One of the things that...
I'm just really starting to question Aaron Glenn there. That's all.
Well, and I agree with you. I kind of am too. And I'm definitely questioning this, what are they running, a 4-2-5 or whatever? Or are they running a 5-2-4, whatever? I don't know. They're running a different, or it's a 4-2-5, I believe. Yes, a 4-2-5 package. I'm just trying to remember. One of the things that, honestly has made me worry about the way that they're calling their defensive plays and their pre-snap reads and everything, and they're not using proper disguising of their defensive play calling. I feel like every single time they call a zero blitz, they get demolished.
Yeah.
You had Rashad Penny go for a 60-yard play. You had, I believe it was Ramondre Stevenson go for a 50-yard run. Their longest, mind you, that was the Patriots' longest run of the season. Going into that game, it actually was quite impressive. The Patriots had the number 1 rushing attack in all of football. They had 0 rushes over 20 yards until Sunday, where they then gassed you for a 50-yard. But whenever I feel and then the 0 blitz on the game-winning touchdown by Seattle, there was another 0 blitz that killed you. Whenever
you don't have the secondary requisite to run a 0 blitz. I'm sorry.
Whenever the Lions dial up a 0 blitz, they get destroyed. And it's not like they're disguising it at all. They're just saying, we're bringing it, get ready. And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
In terms of, anytime they call it, it never works.
And in terms of them running a simpler defense and not trying to do all this defensive trickery and disguising plays, and which I love doing, by the way.
I think that their problem is they're not doing it. They are running too simple of a defense. It's
so
predictable.
Yeah, but I think it's a direct result of how young this defense is. I think they need to simplify the playbook. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying I think that's why it's happening.
There are a lot of young defenses in this league that run a far more complicated playbook than you do. And are doing it better than you. These guys are NFL players. They've all played in with some form of complicated defense in college football. You can do it in the pros too. You can learn. And if they're struggling to pick it up, then they don't belong here. Send them on their way. Send them down to the practice squad. Do what you got to do. Why would you? I get in certain circumstances simplifying the playbook is the right thing to do. I don't think that's the case with this defense because we're trying to build to get somewhere. You got to give these guys an opportunity to learn the things you want to teach them. So throw it at them, make them run it, make them learn it.
To these point, we're not talking quarterbacks here.
Right. We're talking linebackers, defensive backs. Like, well, how complicated can a defensive backfield playbook really get? See your man, cover your man. Don't let him go. You have this area. If anybody goes in that area, go by him.
Go by him.
Stand next to him. And then for safeties, don't let anybody behind you. And then occasionally, see that guy with the football, go get him. Like, and I know I'm oversimplifying it. I get it. Don't come at me for that. I get it. But
for entertainment purposes.
Yes, very much so for entertainment purposes. Like, I don't want to see this team playing a high school level defensive playbook anymore. They got to throw in some stunts with the pass rush because you're not getting home with the guys you have. I get Hutchinson's getting into the backfield, but the dude is so over pursuing so much that it's useless. Quarterbacks aren't afraid of that dude no more. Run some stunts with him, getting him coming around the interior, shooting up the middle, the A gap, and then running in through the middle. It's hard to over pursue when you're coming straight at the guy.
At what point do we start looking externally too, in terms of personnel?
Well, they already have for wide receiver and kicker.
I'm talking on the defensive end, like try to bring some more bodies in here. Like,
do you give Ndamukong Suh a call?
I mean, I would.
He doesn't want him to come here.
I know he doesn't.
He wants to go play for a winner.
You'd probably need to pay him to pick up the phone. But you clearly need bodies in the secondary. I mean, it's a fact. You're starting a practice squad secondary at this point. But yeah, and I do think that. I mean, I don't know who's out there, but I guarantee you they're not worse than what you have out there right now.
No, most likely not. I'm actually kind of curious. Who is out there? Obviously, you have names like Odell Beckham Jr. Antonio Brown is still considered a free agent.
Well, I'm talking about defense right now.
Sheldon Richardson's available. There's a defensive lineman that can clog up some holes. I'm not saying he's going to be good.
He's not. But he is a body.
He is a body. Oh, here's a fun name. Eric Flowers. Do you know Will Fuller still doesn't have a team?
Is he healthy yet?
Probably not. T.Y. Hilton's available at wide receiver. You do need wide receiver help, too, by the way. Let's see.
Well, you got some help coming around Thanksgiving, hopefully, maybe.
I believe Kevin King is available, the young corner from Green Bay, if you remember him. He wasn't great, but...
Again, he's probably better than what you have.
Malcolm Butler, Ross Cockrell, Linval Joseph. He's not terrible-ish.
How about getting Richard Sherman as just a mentor to these guys? Is he interested in playing again?
I have no idea. I thought he retired. Dante Dion, Janoris Jenkins is out there. He's a problem, though. David Johnson, he's available. AJ Bouye is available.
AJ Bouye is available.
Desmond Trufant, there's an experienced player.
Did we have Desmond Trufant last year or 2 years ago? Am I thinking of someone else?
I think you're thinking of Marcus Trufant. No, Marcus Trufant was a long time ago. I don't remember.
But you clearly have names, though. Like
yes. I do think we did have Desmond Trufant a couple years ago. These guys
aren't solutions, but these guys are at least stopgaps.
We did have Desmond Trufant a couple years ago.
So I'm saying the guys we're naming, they're not solutions, but they're at least stopgaps.
They're an adult in the damn room.
Yeah.
You need some of those every now and then. And Star Lotulile, I can't believe he still hasn't retired. It's an adult in the room, and you need something like that right now. It's what you have now is a bunch of kids that don't know what they're doing out there, and they're looking terrible, and you're destroying their confidence. Get somebody in the room that can be a stopgap, help your team out, and make you not the worst defense in the history of football. You're going to have to bring somebody in because of injury at this point. Like, I don't know what else you can do. Who are the healthy corners they have left? Mike Hughes Oruwariye, who got scratched. Jeff Okuda. So there's 3. Is that it?
Yeah, I think Deshaun Elliott had a groin.
AJ Parker, is he hurt?
I think AJ Parker's still around. Give me a second. I had an article up earlier that had all our injuries. I think you just named most of them right there.
Yeah, probably. And none of those guys are any good. Will Harris got hurt. Jeff Okuda left the game, but he came back in. Melifonwu got hurt. Deshaun Elliott got hurt. Savion Smith got hurt. So you lost Deshaun Elliott, Jeff Okuda, Will Harris, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Savion Smith. Okuda came back. I don't believe any of the rest of them did. Savion Smith, you probably lost for the entire year.
Yeah. Well, he's in concussion protocol now.
Yeah. You had in your secondary Bobby Price, Mike Hughes, AJ Parker, Chase Lucas, and Kirby Joseph, who also temporarily left with an injury.
Yep.
You need to bring somebody in. You need to. Anyways. We don't really have anything to look forward to next week, obviously, because it's a bye week, a much-needed bye week. Get some of these guys healthy. Hopefully, Swift and St. Brown will be back to help that offense. Hopefully, we get some of these wide receivers back and second defensive secondary players as well, just to get us back to like a semblance of a competent football team. I can't even say that's a competent football team on the defensive side of the ball, but
you're being awfully nice there.
Yeah, offensively, it's a different story. But anyways, let's jump over to the Pistons real quick to close things out. We didn't get a chance to talk preseason look, how they've looked in the preseason so far last week, which I don't think we would have anyways, now I think about it. But we have seen them in a few games, or 2 games, right? 2?
Yes.
2 games in
only
preseason.
Actually seen them in 1 because the other one was not really televised locally. So
I think it was on the radio, though. I think it
might have been on the radio.
I think it was on AM radio. But they had games up against the Pelicans and the Knicks. They did lose both of them. Very odd look to each.
Bleacher Report's still adamant that Kemba Walker played 20 minutes. I don't know if you know this. It's still there.
So is
still there.
So is ESPN. I just want to point that out. ESPN still says Kemba Walker put up 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting with 3 turnovers, 2 assists, 2 boards. Yeah. From a different city. He was watching his former teams play each other. I found that hilarious.
We played both of his.
I'm sorry. He
never played for the Pelicans.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong box score here.
Yeah.
No,
he did watch his former teams play each other in the first preseason game.
Yes, in the first preseason game. Yes, that's what I was talking about. I was looking at the wrong game there for a second.
Well, we'll kind of like. I don't want to take it game by game, but it's overall thoughts what we've seen so far. We're recording this on Monday, so we've only played 2 preseason games as of this recording. But a couple things I liked. In the first game specifically, Jaden Ivey being aggressive, attacking the basket, and the only person not turning the ball over. The turnover was continued in both games, in games 1 and 2. It's something we're really going to have to clean up. And Jaden Ivey did basically make up for his no turnovers by turning it over for 2 games worth of turnovers in the second game.
He had 7 turnovers in the second game.
But he's clearly shown a knack for getting the rim. He took 9 free throws in the second game. He's shown a knack for just getting points on the board, whether it's by hook or by crook. He's going to get some points on the board for you.
Being aggressive, getting to the basket. He needs to work on the shooting, which is one of the things that we were worried about coming into the season, is his outside shooting. It was like a Jekyll and Hyde situation with Jaden Ivey through the first 2 preseason games, where in the first preseason game he looked much more in control with better shooting. He was 1-1 from outside, 6-9 from the floor. Only took 3 free throws, but 16 points, didn't turn the ball over. Then you go into the Pelicans game where he shoots 2 of 12, gets to the line 9 times, makes them all, turns the ball over 7 times.
6 assists too, though.
Still
negative.
I was going to say that is not a good ratio still. Cade in the second game looked much better. 10 points, 8 assists, 4 boards, only 2 turnovers. First game he had 4 turnovers.
He did not look himself the first game.
No.
Sadiq.
And the
whole
shooting was very poor.
That first game was just unwatchable. I actually had to turn that one off after half.
You know what, though? Killian Hayes actually wasn't terrible.
Killian Hayes was the highlight for me. Him and Jane Ivey, at least the first game. He was doing everything we've been wanting him to do in terms of just, I don't care what happens. The preseason, put some fucking shots up, and he finally did that.
Does the fact that he went 0 for 5 from outside in the second game worry you at all?
No, I'm not expecting a fully involved 3-point shot just yet. I'm just expecting improvement.
If he doesn't have a developed 3-point shot at the end of this year,
if Andre Drummond just went 3 for 3,
is there an argument? Is there an argument for Killian Hayes to still be on this team if he doesn't develop a 3-point shot that he can make at least 30% of the time? And I'll sit here and I'll say no.
He becomes easier replaceable because you can find a defensive point guard in free agency. It's not that hard,
especially one that can't shoot.
Yeah.
Isaiah Stewart shot 1 of 3 from outside against the Knicks and 2 of 5 against the Pelicans. The fact that he's taken 5 and 5 threes, 8 threes through 2 games, and he's made 3 of them, so not a bad clip. Does that excite you at all?
I've been pretty vocal. I'm excited about Isaiah Stewart's 3-point potential, and I'm kind of starting to actually really buy into it. I still need to see in regular season action, but I'm going to tell you right now, if we get to the first 10 games regular season and this is still going, I'm all in on Isaiah Stewart stretch 4. I'm all in.
I will be too, because honestly, Isaiah Stewart as a stretch 4 is kind of a perfect scenario for him. He's got the length and the athleticism, I guess I can say, the bounce to be out there. And it also kind of frees up a path for a guy like Jalen Duren to really kind of get into the fold here. We haven't gotten to
that much more switchable.
It does
as a roster.
It does. We haven't gotten to see Duren yet because although we did get to see him in the next game.
Game 1, he played
24 minutes. He didn't play in the Pelicans game due to a sore shoulder.
I'll tell you from what I saw in the Knicks game,
guy can rebound the lights out.
It doesn't look like this kid's touching the G League. That's all I'm saying.
Personally,
he looked real good out there.
Personally, I think that's
still like a rookie, but he looked real good.
I don't think that's the right decision for a guy like Jalen Duren, but that's just me. He did have 14 rebounds, which is nice. Only 2 points, 3 fouls, and he did have a block. But again, I need more offensive production out of my center than that.
Oh yeah.
So frankly, I would rather see a guy like I would rather see a guy like Duren go down to the G League and build that offensive game before he comes up here. That's just really not much else to talk about. I mean, how Isaiah Livers looked pretty solid in the game against the Knicks. Not so solid in the game against the Pelicans. I mean, he wasn't terrible. He just didn't hit any of his threes, and he only played 16 minutes. So versus the 21 he played in the first game. But
just taking the 2 games as a whole, I really think there's 2 things that the Pistons really need to clean up. One is turnovers. We turned the ball over 42 times in 2 games. That is absurd. So we need to do a better job of protecting the ball, making smarter decisions out there. And this defense also clearly needs a lot of work. We are way too versatile in terms of being able to switch and have anyone guard anyone on the court to be giving up this many points. I know it's still preseason, so I'm not, reading into it too much, but just trying to take some indicators of what we could be seeing come regular season time. And I think turnovers and defense are going to be the biggest points to hammer for them going into the regular season.
I will also kind of say that I really like the wrinkle that Bojan Bogdanovic is bringing. Bojan Bogdanovic, is bringing to this team because
just say bogey. Just say bogey.
Bogey, that's fine. It gives a legit threat from outside that teams got to account for, and that opens this. That's just going to do wonders for opening up the spacing for guys like Cade and Jaden Ivey to do some work.
Yeah.
I really like what Bogey brings to the floor for the Pistons, and I've seen it. Granted, against Pelicans, he didn't really make a ton of shots, but he did against the Knicks. That looked pretty good. I mean, 3 of 5 shooting from outside. That's not bad at all.
Yep.
That's really good. So I think that he's going to be a nice addition to this team this year. By the way, ESPN did fix it.
ESPN did? Yes. Bleach Report is not.
Nice.
They have Kemba Walker with 10 points.
That honestly, Andrew, that does not surprise me one bit.
Nope.
Wait, where do you 10 points for Kemba Walker? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
against
so-
the Pelicans. Correct.
Yeah, so they take on tomorrow's their first home preseason game. They take on the Thunder. We'll see how they look. It'll be interesting.
Again, I don't buy too much into preseason. I never have. I never will.
Yeah,
I am
Like everyone-
looking for
okay, like-
certain things though.
you saw Pistons Twitter and Pistons Reddit have a complete meltdown after the first preseason game against the Knicks. Like they were ready to just give up on the season entirely.
Tank for Wembanyama.
People were questioning if Cade's the guy after one preseason.
There's always, like, I feel
everything
like-
we just saw last
I
year.
feel like not only do the players and the coaches and the analysts and the play-by-play guys have to shake off the rust, but so do the fans.
Yeah.
We gotta get that we gotta shake off the rust of what it is to be an actual fan.
In the
Yes.
offseason, they build up so much anticipation, and they expect us. They expect the team to go out and just live up to every single
Right.
expectation they set for them. Right,
We
off
got to
the
shake
rip.
off the rust a little bit as a fan
Yeah.
base. So, but anyways, anything else to add before we close out?
No, I can't wait till Piston season starts, and hopefully it looks better than what the Lion season look like right now. So
Yeah, ain't that the truth? You know what? Honestly, I'm also excited for wing season. Elmer Soderblom made the roster. The 6'8" behemoth from Sweden.
For any of you guys who are wondering, I just did my first ever NHL fantasy draft. I don't know who's on my team. I don't know anything, and if anyone wants to run it, let me know.
It was honestly entertaining getting the text from him. Like, who do I take? Who do I take? It was fun. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. We will see you next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. Andrew, thank you for joining me. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as always, and thank you guys for listening. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.